Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Rustic Lumber Store podcast, the pre-show Workbench Con edition. We're here with James from Texas Crafted, and we're going to sit down today and just kind of learn a little bit more about him. So James, go ahead and tell everybody a little bit about yourself, how you got started, and what made you move to your nice lovely shop out here?
Well, I'm James, Texas Crafted, and we started back in 2019 as an actual company. I always tell people though that my time started in the military. So I was a carpentry masonry specialist in the military. And, but that being where I started kind of isn't fully true. Growing up, like my dad actually had like multiple sclerosis. So like a lot of things around the house, like he just wasn't really able to do. So a lot of the things that normally like your dad would do or something like that, like I was the hands, he was the brains. So like we got a lot of things done home improvement wise. And then from there, like, building tree houses, all that stuff always piqued our interest as a kids. Fast forward to whenever I went into the military and I was, signed up, enlisted carpentry masonry specialist for 6 years. We did a lot of cool stuff, went to Germany, Honduras, all that stuff, did some humanitarian missions. And that interest kind of stayed there. So I was like, man, I really like, building stuff. We got into our house in 2019, our first house, me and my wife, Kim, and she was like, you should build a coffee table for us. Cause like none of the ones that we've seen are good. They're all like just not what we were looking for. So I built that. She posted photos. We had a realtor friend that just kind of was like, hey, if you could do that, maybe you could do some other stuff for us. And she's always let us work. And it's elevated. It just kind of grew from that. And then 2020, COVID, time at home. We had our first kid during that time. So, all the baby furniture stuff, it grew from there. We've had a lot of referrals over to us. Social media has been great for us as well. And it's grown to what this is now. Now we have a property with our own shop on it. We were working out of a 2-car garage for a while. And it's just, you look around and it's like, how did this happen? How am I in here now?
Yeah, I would say that's a lot of growth to happen in anywhere between 4 or 5 years. How's that shift changed for you? Like, how has that gone from, because what were you doing? Did you just get out of the military around 2019, or how did that go?
So I got out in 2016. I was a social media coordinator and marketing coordinator for a archery company, small archery shop here in the DFW area. And so that was kind of what I was doing in the meantime before building stuff. It just kind of, that was, virtually building because I was in an apartment, didn't really have a whole lot of space to do anything.
All right. So sorry to get the technical difficulties here.
There we go.
Okay. So you were telling us about how just being a social media coordinator and then being able to move from the apartment into just getting back and working in hands. What's that 5-year journey felt like with the transition and just becoming, going from basically like an office job to having your own shop on your own property?
I mean, surreal in one word, but it's been awesome. We've seen, we've gained a lot of really good friends throughout it, right? Just from people that we, work with as far as suppliers and then also customers, actually like being able to build that, meaningful relationship, a lot of repeat business and stuff. So we have a good, network around us, support system too. And that's really what allowed us to grow along with social media and everything. It's having those personal people as well to kind of pick you up whenever you're down and, in those low spots, they're there for you. And so it's pretty good to have that. I think it's pretty essential, in my opinion.
What is it you're mostly building? Like, what's your top products that you do?
A lot of things that we do is like custom one-off, like hall trees and like cabinetry, like upgrades. Like we did a vent hood add-on to a cabinet. Like, so their existing cabinets, we just actually built on to level up their cabinets. But hall trees are kind of like our main thing. We did at, the very beginning, a lot of like outdoor games. So like cornholes and, large Jenga sets and stuff like that. But my main interest is like problem solving, right? So like, hey, I have this space. I want something that fits specifically in this space that accomplishes, this job. And like, that's really the type of projects that we love, because we can actually make someone's life easier, but also kind of stimulate the mind instead of just making 100 cutting boards. Like, no offense to anyone who's making 100 cutting boards, but
that sounds like a military carpenter. He's like, what problem do you actually have? What can I do to like fix an entire problem? It requires the most work and brain power. That sounds right. How has the
let's overcomplicate.
Right, let's overcomplicate. If that doesn't say it's military, I don't know what is. So how has that social media background helped you with your with growing your business?
I don't want to like overemphasize, I guess, like my role in that. Like whenever I was at the archery shop, it was like photos, and that was like how you grew on Instagram and Facebook. Like a lot of it was photos, and there wasn't a whole lot of video. Yeah, around that time. But the one constant thing is change, right? And that's really what like I noticed during the social media stuff. Like where we started, it was like, oh, this one thing works. Well, now it doesn't work anymore. So you're constantly doing a lot of research and figuring out what works and what doesn't. And I think that's one of the biggest things is understanding, like, sometimes you make something and you don't really know why it popped off the way it did, like whatever video it is or whatever, content that you have out there. Like, you're like, how did this many eyes get on it? You got to do that research and be like, okay, well, I did this, and this in that video. Let's try to recreate that and, throw it out there and test it. Also, being able to just reach out with hashtags and kind of see what's actually relevant and see what other people are doing in your space. Not to just straight up copycat them, but kind of see what the industry is leaning more towards is really beneficial. That's one of the things that I saw whenever I first started doing, social media back then.
Yeah, it's an audience audit. It's figuring out what your audience or your target audience really enjoys and what they're looking up, what they're checking out. See what people who are also colleagues in your industry are doing as well and what resonates with that audience and so on. So that way it's all just, you can adjust your strategy to accommodate how to speak to that audience or how to attract that audience. It's all a marketing game for sure. And so through social media, that's how you and Zach connected. So how did that come about exactly?
Well, I mean, then that's one of the questions I have with him is, I guess, because Woodcraft Texas, they're one of our dealers down there for our furniture oil and hydrocoat. What's your relationship with the guys down there at Woodcraft Texas?
Well, I got Danny over there. He's the owner, right? And then there's Justin, who's the manager. Justin's a newer friend to us, but Danny's been a friend with us for ever since he pretty much opened shortly after that anyway in 2020. So we've known him for a while now, I guess. But I went in there and, picked up some wood and all. And it's really awesome that he actually carries a lot of exotics and everything that you normally wouldn't see at your average, definitely not your average like home store, but also not at like your hardwood dealer. So it's pretty awesome and unique. He's a really awesome guy though too. Very humble and just really, really friendly. I mean, if you walk in there 2 years from now without being in there in that time, he'll recognize you and remember your name, which is awesome. And that's kind of one of the things that really grew our friendship. But I do a lot of kind of problem solving jobs for them, like for their joint wood machine. They had that router set up on the front. I had some dust collection issues or lack of. So I designed from like ground up type of deal in CAD and made them a little 3D printed, dust chute for that. Yeah, and I made some like signage and stuff for him. So in addition to him being like my local dealer, he's also, someone that, needs some things that I can problem solve for him and all. So really good business, friend as well. So
yeah. When I went down there and delivered some of that Mappleboro and our furniture oil, I was really impressed down there. It's a nice place that he has going on down there.
Yeah, it's really awesome. I mean, he's really reinvested in like the industry, like woodworking in general, not just your like, hey, I need 1,000 board foot of oak type of person, but like, hey, I want to make a unique project. And we've done like some classes for them as well. We do like an epoxy and wood chessboard for him. Like we teach people how to make them in the class. So he's really invested a lot back into the community and into the woodworking community specific.
Yeah, for sure. Have you did you help him like with his social media, or did he already have that going before he knew you, or did you have any involvement on it with his end?
I think he's handling most of it himself. I just kind of give him pointers and tips and tricks every once in a while. And anytime I can shout him out or do a video as like a feature to collaborate with him, that's more like my side of it. But like as far as his own account and everything, he totally manages that on his own. Just kind of give him, I'll pop in there from time to time and be like, hey man, have you thought about this? And maybe change a little bit of that.
Yeah, for sure. Do you do like locally projects? Do you collaborate with a lot of other contractors or builders or anyone, on different projects? They reach out to you to collaborate on stuff they need made or something?
Not as much as we would like to. We definitely want to reach out to some of the, people in the area. Some of them we realized just from like the woodshed had an open house type of a situation, grand opening. And we met a lot of people that were right down the street from us. We didn't even really know it. You kind of get so isolated into your shop that sometimes you get your head down and forget who's around you, and like someone could be around the corner and you not even know it.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's crazy. I mean, how many people are in that metro area? A few million people?
Yeah, it's just a couple million. No big deal.
Like when I drove down there to Galveston, it's like, I mean, it's from driving one side to the other side, it's over an hour's worth of travel, depending how you do it. It's like, man, this. But yeah, I suppose because that's what I was saying when I'm driving through like Dallas Fort Worth. I'm like, there's no way anyone like on this side of town would ever have a reason to go to like that side of town. It's not like living in Omaha where you're like, oh, just from Elkhorn to South, it's 30 minutes. I'm like, dude, is that how it works down there? Like, there's no way that people travel often like from one corner to the other corner of the whole metro area. Like that's forever.
Do you have, between this, you do this full time ish? Are you like Justin from Campfire Woodworks, where like this is your part time full time job, and then you actually have also a full time job?
Yeah, no, this is 100% part time, full time job. It's right now like more of a labor of love than anything. There's no way I'd be able to do it without my wife, because she pretty much keeps the house from exploding, and allows me like the capacity to be out here and do interviews and do jobs and get stuff done. But yeah, it's total part-time, full-time job
for sure. And definitely having a partner, having a wife to help you with that and help you keep like you said, keep the house from blowing up. That's the thing. And you got a what is it, 4 now? Given the fact that you had them 2019, 2020.
Yeah, it's 2020. Yeah, it's a girl. Oh. She's 3.5. Yeah, almost 4.
Oh man. So yeah. I know she's probably just doing everything she possibly can to destroy everything.
She's sneaky, man.
I know.
She'll ask me something, doesn't get the answer she wants. She goes, circles around to the why. Hey, can I get this? Like, I just told you no.
Oh, for sure. I have 2 girls. I know.
Yeah, right?
No, we shut that down real quick when they were young. How is that being a dad, being a husband, and then having 2 full-time jobs? Like, how do you balance all that?
It's a struggle sometimes. Sometimes you're just like, man, like, what am I doing? But, it's rewarding because honestly, if you are just, doing your daily grind, like let's say you have a full-time job, you go and you do that, and then you come home, you don't have any hobbies or anything, or like my hobby is working too much apparently. But if you don't have that hobby, I see a lot of people that just kind of like have their head down and just like, yeah, well, I got a family and this is what I do. But I can actually show my daughter like, hey, I work, but I also like, I built this, you know, like whatever that may look like hold your head high and actually know, like if you set your mind to something and you want it bad enough, like you can do it. So like, let's work and let's do that. And I feel like it helps kind of instill those values with her. So like as far as being a dad, like it feels like it's a really good opportunity to kind of teach your kid, like work for what you got and be proud of where you were at, but you know, stay humble and still the interactions that you have with people. So
what's speaking of that, like with building everything that you are, what are your plans for the future of the shop? What do you want to happen, say, the next year or so?
Well, you know, I'd like to not be the part-time, full-time guy anymore.
Yeah.
I like to just be the full-time guy.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Right. So, I mean, for us lately, I don't know if y'all noticed, but we've been putting out a lot more like tips and tricks types of videos and really kind of catering to the actual woodworking community more. Because after, you know, those realizations, hey, I got a guy down the street that I never even knew was there, right? So being able to kind of give those tips through a video and to whoever else it was, you know, that watches it kind of helps spread that knowledge, but also lets people know that they're not alone. Like, hey, you know, you can build this too. Like, here's a little tip, make it a little bit easier for you. And so we really want to focus more on like our content creation side of that, whatever that may look like in the future, ideally through this year. Our YouTube's grown quite a bit over the past 3 weeks. Same thing with like Instagram and Shorts. Yeah. So right now on YouTube, we're at like almost 4 million views in the last 3 weeks.
So
Yeah.
explain that. Explain how, and this is for the people who also want to get into content creation and as woodworkers, marketing as business owners. What has been your recipe, or your idea for that? Is it just re-uploading what you're uploading on Instagram, or are you tweaking it a little bit to cater towards the YouTube algorithm? Or
a lot of my research has shown that like the people that are on YouTube don't necessarily they're not necessarily going to catch that video on Instagram, right? Instagram's kind of like a firecracker, like it's going to, you know, do its thing and kind of be done for your videos mostly that we've seen. You know, every once in a while you'll have an exception, but YouTube's a little bit more timeless with that. So I take all my videos that I put on Instagram and I put them on YouTube as shorts. Every once in a while there's something that I'm just like, I don't think that this is really Instagram type of video, and I'll just put it on YouTube and vice versa. But for the most part, it all goes on there because honestly, I mean, it's 5 more minutes of my time to upload it to one site versus 3. And on Facebook, I mean, we got enough views to where we're actually monetized on there and making money from that. So, I mean, it's free to do it. Honestly, I mean, at the end of the day, make sure you can still look yourself in the mirror whenever you're done with it, have a little bit of value on it, right? And add a little value to people. But absolutely, cross-platform utilization, 100% a thing, and you should be doing it.
what tips would you give someone who says, you know, this is my year, I want to get into woodworking, I want to join this community and get online? What would you tell them, like top 3 things you would tell them to do before getting started?
You should start as a millionaire, because then you'll at least have a couple thousand by the time you're done. I mean, consistency, right? Like, if you're like, well, you go a month or 2 or whatever without, like, say you want to grow it as an Instagram following and be that personality or whatever, like, you got to consistently upload, right? So you got to, even if you're just around the shop, like cleaning up, like, hey man, I'm cleaning up around here, just letting y'all know I'm still alive type of deal. So being consistent in that, learning new techniques, not being afraid to really jump out of your comfort zone. There's a lot of projects that we've taken on that have grown myself and my wife as woodworkers. She makes like decorative signs and stuff like that for nurseries and all. And, you know, at one point, none of us knew how to do anything. So like, are you going to stop at that low point, or are you going to keep continuing to grow yourself as far as knowledge? So being consistent in posting, growing your knowledge as far as what you're doing, and then networking. And that's one of the things that we really kind of we dropped the ball on at the beginning was networking. Like we're kind of like, oh, we're doing our thing and that's just how it is and don't worry about it. But really, I mean, learning, getting to know Zach, getting to know, Brandon now too, and Danny. I mean, it's opened up a ton of windows for doors for us.
He said, "Got the windows open now." Yeah.
Hey man, sometimes you got to jump through the window. All right, you got to make it happen. No, so it opens up a bunch of doors for you. I mean, that person may know something that you don't know, and then you're gaining that knowledge. You can in turn pass it on. Danny, if he has a project that he can't take on or doesn't have the capacity, he has a bunch of people that he works with because he has this huge network of woodworking. We've been lucky to be one of those people. We've gotten some work from it, and it's kept the doors open and the lights on. So networking might be like a little bit of seed, but you water it and continue. It's going to grow into something awesome. So that's my three things.
That's
keep it
perfect.
simple.
I honestly could not have thought of anything else better to say. That's just perfect. All right, Justin. Well, I mean, that brings us to the end of this episode here.
Man.
I know, right? We could be doing this all day, every day. Like this is fun for us. Tell the people where to find you.
You can find me on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Texas_crafted on all three. Shoot me a DM or whatever, just say hi. We'd love to meet everyone. So hit us up.
All right. Well, thanks, man, for sitting down with us and talking. And I know you're not going to be at Workbench this year, but hopefully next year we'll see you there. Yep.
Hopefully. Yeah.
All right, man.
That's the plan.
Have a good one.
Take it easy, man.